See what I see?
I see it.
What is it?
Before television turned every kid into a polished product, all that gave us real kids loud, clumsy, weird, and ridiculously funny. Premiering in 1994 on Nickelodeon, all that felt like Saturday Night Live tossed into a bucket of orange slime, then handed to a bunch of kids to tear across America. Honestly, everyone who ever stood on all that deserves a Lifetime Achievement Award for giving us laughter for decades. But then the cameras shut off. Childhood ended. One girl who used to be Nickelodeon's future later spent nearly 9 years under a conservatorship. Ed from Good Burger hit rock bottom with depression, alcohol drug use, and thoughts of ending his life. Is that the curse of getting famous too early? Today we're going back to all that to revisit some old friends. You ready to meet? The first one, number 1, Kenan Thompson. Let's start with the guy who went from Nickelodeon's orange stage to the throne of Saturday Night Live. Kenan Thompson was born in 1978. When all that premiered in 1994, he was just 16 that age, when most of us were worried about tests, beat-up cars, and weekend cable TV. Kenan was already on Nickelodeon, one of the original 7 faces of all that making American kids laugh, with Pierre Escargot, Mavis, and Clavis Superdude Principal Pimpel, and a whole bunch of weird 90s sketches. After all, that Kenan didn't disappear like a lot of child stars. He kept going with Kenan and Kel Good Burger D2, The Mighty Ducks, D3 The Mighty Ducks, Fat Albert, and then in 2003 he stepped into Saturday Night Live, and there he did something almost unreal. Kenan became the longest-running cast member in the show's history, won an Emmy, got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and became one of the most consistent comedy faces in America. Kenan's personal life isn't the kind that blows up careers with scandal, but it hasn't been smooth either. He married Christina Evangeline in 2011, had 2 daughters, Georgia and Gianna. After more than 10 years, they separated. Then Kenan filed for divorce in 2022 and asked for 50% custody. Then there was the whole thing with Chris Redd, former Saturday Night Live cast member, dating Christina after she and Kenan split. Redd later admitted it was awkward and said he felt bad for hurting Kenan. Kenan didn't turn it into some public feud. He just kept moving. Kenan has also spoken publicly about having GERD acid reflux, with symptoms like heartburn, hoarseness, insomnia, even affecting his work on Saturday Night Live. In 2026, Kenan Thompson is 48. He's still with Saturday Night Live, still living in Nickelodeon memories through Good Burger Kenan, and Kel reunions with Kel Mitchell and the nostalgia wave after Good Burger 2. Looking at Kenan now, I don't just see a successful former child star. I see a man who's been in Hollywood long enough to understand that sometimes the biggest win isn't getting more famous, it's still standing. Number 2, Kel Mitchell. Now, let's talk
How about a good
who
wing?
made all of
Well,
America
I'm
yell
kind of in a
over
hurry.
burger. Kel Mitchell was born in 1978
It's
in
almost ready.
Chicago. When all that premiered in 1994, he was just 16, same age as Kenan, but with the kind of energy like someone plugged him straight into a Nickelodeon outlet. Kel was an original cast member from season 1 to season 5 and quickly became a fan favorite. After all that Kel and Kenan had Kenan and Kel, then Good Burger in 1997. For a lot of Americans who grew up in the 90s, just mentioning Kel brings back Welcome to Good Burger, echoing in your head. After his bright Nickelodeon era, he voiced Clifford the Big Red Dog, co-hosted Dance 360, showed up in One-on-One, wrote and produced Dance Foo, then returned to Nickelodeon with Game Shakers in 2015. He also competed on Dancing with the Stars season 28 and finished second. But Kel's life didn't go in a straight line like Kenan's. He married Tyisha Hampton in 1999, had 2 kids, Lyric and Allure, then divorced in 2005. After that marriage, Kel talked about depression, suicidal thoughts, drug use, and alcohol use. That's the part that makes people go quiet. The same Ed who made kids laugh on screen once didn't want to keep going in real life. Kel later turned to faith, became a youth pastor, wrote devotionals, and started speaking more to young people about anxiety, depression, faith, and choosing to keep living. In 2012, he married Asia Lee. They have 2 kids, Wisdom and Honor. But his past family issues didn't fully settle. In 2024, Kel went on Club Shay Shay and made serious accusations about his previous marriage with Taisha. Taisha publicly denied it. His daughter Allure also wasn't happy seeing her mom brought up again in public. Kel also had a scary health incident in 2023. He experienced dizziness, numbness on one side of his body, trouble swallowing, and had to be hospitalized. Later, he said it was caused by a herniated disc pressing on a nerve. In 2024, he also shared that back during all that Dan Schneider once pulled him into a closet and yelled at him after a creative disagreement when Kel was about 18. In 2026, Kel Mitchell is 48. He's still a father of 4, still with Asia Lee, still showing up in nostalgia events. Good Burger, 2 talks about Good Burger, 3 a possible Kenan and Kel revival, and a project called Kenan and Kel Meet Frankenstein. Number 3, Lori Beth Denberg. Lori Beth Denberg was born in 1976.
Steady for the math test?
When All That premiered in 1994, she was 18, an original cast member, and one of the oldest in the initial lineup. After All That, Lori Beth went on to star in The Steve Harvey Show from 1998 to 2002. She appeared in Good Burger, Dodgeball, Workaholics, then came back in a bunch of nostalgia shows like Double Dare Wild and Out the All That revival in 2019, Worst Cooks in America, Celebrity Edition in 2022, and Good Burger 2 in 2023. Lori Beth doesn't have the kind of legal scandal that wrecks a career. The heavy part of her story comes from what she spoke out about in 2024. She accused Dan Schneider of showing her explicit content, initiating phone sex, inappropriate sexual behavior, and yelling at her on set. According to Lori Beth, this started around 1995, when she was about 19. She also said Schneider held a lot of power on the show, making the line between work, trust, and control dangerously blurred. Schneider denied it, saying the accusations were exaggerated and mostly untrue. Lori Beth also criticized how Nickelodeon and some former executives handled concerns back then. She said they didn't protect cast and crew well enough, and at times she felt silenced. Putting those words next to the old vital information segments, "It's a hard thing to swallow. A girl who once turned important information into jokes for kids eventually had to speak out about things adults avoided for way too long." But Lori Beth isn't just that story. She still shows up at reunions, still connected to Good Burger, still loved by fans. Outside Hollywood, she also works as a wedding officiant, writing and leading ceremonies, a very everyday detail about someone who used to be a childhood TV face. Number 4, Josh Server. Josh Server was born in 1979 in Highland Park, Illinois. When All That premiered in 1994, he was just 15, part of the original cast. Josh wasn't the breakout name like Kenan or Kel, but he was one of the most consistent faces from the early years. For loyal All That fans, Earboy Detective Dan Jimmy Bond, Agent 1/7th, and Bernie Kibitz aren't unfamiliar names. They're pieces that made the show feel like a crazy playground we all wanted to jump into as kids. After all that, Josh appeared in Good Burger in 1997 as Fizz. He continued through a bunch of Nickelodeon projects like The Amanda Show Drake and Josh Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide and Game Shakers. In 2019, he returned in the All That revival. Then, in 2023, showed up again in Good Burger 2. He didn't disappear, but he also didn't become a fame machine like Kenan. Josh took a smaller, quieter path, and probably a more real one for a lot of former child stars. After all that, he stepped away from Hollywood for a while, and when he came back, he wanted to take acting more seriously, try more mature roles, but even he admitted that wasn't easy, because audiences were used to seeing him in a very specific way. Earboy was a gift, but also a giant label. Josh once said the character would stay with him for life. The All That days weren't as light as the screen made it seem. The young cast had to study on set, sometimes working nearly 6 days a week. Josh said the classroom was full of kids who loved to joke around loud and hard to focus, to the point where the tutors were the real heroes. He also had to wear those weird costumes at events, standing in front of celebrities as Earboy, a kid both loved and boxed in. In 2026, Josh Server is 47. He's still part of the Nickelodeon nostalgia circle, still showing up when All That or Good Burger calls back the past. With Josh Server, I don't see a big collapse story. I see a man who has to live with giant fake ears from age 15, and somehow he's managed to stay kind to that memory. Number 5, Alisa Reyes. Alisa Reyes doesn't have big scandals people gossip about, but she has something even rarer in Hollywood consistency. Alisa was born in 1981. When All That premiered in 1994, she was just 13, one of the youngest original cast members. If Lori Beth had that deadpan style and Kel was a whirlwind across the stage, Alisa had a bright, quick, energetic vibe that fit Nickelodeon perfectly back then. Audiences remember her as Kiki the Island Girl and Island Girl sketches that were fun, a little silly, but unforgettable in that 90s way. After all, that Alisa didn't disappear. She played Marcy Blake in NBC's One World, then appeared in 6 Feet Under Strong Medicine, NYPD Blue Boston Public, and other guest roles. But her biggest mark after Nickelodeon came from her voice. Alisa voiced La Ciénaga Boulevardes in The Proud Family, then returned to the role in The Proud Family, louder and prouder. Not everyone leaves one childhood brand and successfully steps into another one with Disney. Alisa's personal life doesn't have major legal scandals widely reported, but that doesn't mean her path was easy. She didn't have a huge fame explosion like Kenan, didn't carry heavy headlines like Amanda, and didn't get a red carpet rolled out. She had to work in a more grounded way, acting, voice work, producing, writing, singing, teaching, and coaching. In interviews, she said she's proud to have stayed in the industry for over 30 years without giving up. In 2026, Alisa Reyes is 45. She's a mother, a multi-talented artist, and still remembered by both All That and the Proud Family fans. Number 6, Katrina Johnson. Let's talk about Katrina Johnson, the All That girl who made audiences laugh as Ross Perot, then had to live for years with a comment about her body. Katrina Johnson was born in 1982 in San Diego. When All That premiered in 1994, she was just 12, one of the youngest original cast members. In the first 3 seasons, from 1994 to 1997, Katrina brought a very distinct comedic style. Her most memorable bit was impersonating Ross Perot, which is kind of a strange choice for a kids' show, but totally in the spirit of All That, taking what adults were talking about and turning it into jokes on a Nickelodeon stage. After all, that Katrina didn't have a big career like Kenan, Kel, or Amanda. She stayed in the memories of early fans, but her path moved into less Hollywood-focused directions. She worked in radio podcasts, appeared in nostalgia events, spent time as a corporate flight attendant, then built a public image as an author, podcaster, inspirational speaker, and life coach. Katrina doesn't have major legal scandals widely reported. The heaviest part of her story is about body image. In Quiet on Set, she said, a producer once called her parents and said she was too fat. That's the kind of comment adults think is just work feedback, but for a 12-year-old, it can stick for a long time. Katrina said those words still affect how she sees her body. What's interesting is she doesn't describe Nickelodeon in a completely dark way. She once called Dan Schneider a mentor, so her story isn't just black and white. In 2026, Katrina is 44. She's no longer a mainstream face, but she still has her own voice outside Hollywood. With Katrina Johnson, what stays isn't just a Ross Perot impression. What stays is the harsh lesson that sometimes something an adult says on set can follow a child longer than the applause ever does. Number 7, Angelique Bates. Angelique was born in 1980 in Los Angeles. When All That premiered in 1994, she was 14, an original cast member in the first 2 seasons, and is credited as the show's first black female cast member. She auditioned with a Steve Urkel impression, then quickly became part of the first lineup with sketches like Cooking with Randy and Mandy alongside Kel Mitchell. But Angelique was also one of the original members who left the show the earliest. After all, that she didn't have a huge career path like Kenan or Kel. Angelique had small roles in 1335 and Ticking Strong Medicine Boston Public, Tim and Eric Awesome Show Great Job, and later appeared in Bonnet Chronicles and Mighty Reel, a sketch variety show. She also did stand-up rap music, released Can't Fade Me Now under the stage name Alizai, studied cinematography and production, and at one point considered leaving entertainment to become a sheriff deputy. The heaviest part of Angelique's story is in what she had already been saying years before quiet on set. She said the nightmare started when she was 12, that she was physically, mentally, and emotionally abused, sometimes right near producers and cast members. She said Child Protective Services was called to the set around 1996, but she was pressured to stay silent. She also said that after leaving the show, the entertainment industry judged her looks, skin color, and weight, which made her try dieting, skin lightening, and changing herself just to get work. Angelique also said she had been raped, had been in an abusive relationship, and once planned to swallow a bottle of pills but was saved by her best friend. She has 2 children, and she once said she lives to protect them from what she went through. In 2026, Angelique is 46. For her, the most painful thing was not leaving all that too soon. The most painful thing is that it seems like she had to endure far too much before enough people were willing to listen. Number 8, Jamie Lynn Spears. Now, we leave the original group and move to a supporting face from all that, but her real life was anything but supporting Jamie Lynn Spears. Jamie Lynn was born in 1991. When all that premiered in 1994, she was only 3, so she was not part of the original lineup. She joined All That in 2002 when she was about 11 as part of Nickelodeon's later generation. Her clearest mark on the show was Thelma Stump, the cranky backstage security guard who loved bacon and always blocked people in that weird old lady style Nickelodeon loved in the early 2000s. But all that was just the doorway. Zoe 101 was the explosion. From 2005 to 2008, Jamie Lynn played Zoe Brooks, Nickelodeon's good girl face at the time. Then in 2007, everything changed when she announced she was pregnant at 16. She gave birth to her daughter Maddie in 2008 at 17, and the American media basically turned that story into a public trial. Jamie Lynn once said people told her she had ruined the girls who watched Zoe 101. To be clear, Zoe 101 was not canceled because she got pregnant. After that, Jamie Lynn stepped away from the spotlight, lived more privately, and focused on being a mother. Her relationship with Casey Aldridge ended after a lot of ups and downs. In 2014, she married Jamie Watson, then had her second daughter, Ivy, in 2018. The heaviest incident came in 2017 when Maddie had an ATV accident, fell into a pond, and nearly drowned. Luckily, she recovered. Jamie Lynn later returned with country music Sweet Magnolia, Zoe 102, and reality TV. In 2026, she is 35, a mother of 2, still working, but still living under the shadow of the Spears named Brittany and the judgments from when she was 16. With Jamie Lynn Spears, I don't just see a teen scandal, I see a girl. America forced to grow up before she even understood what she was losing. Number 9, Gabriel Iglesias. Now here's a name that only passed through All That, but later sold out places most Nickelodeon actors could only dream of. Gabriel Iglesias was born in 1976 in San Diego and grew up in Long Beach. In 2000, when he joined season 6 of All That, he was 24. He was not part of the original 1994 cast, and he was not the soul of the show. On All That, Gabriel is mostly remembered for impression, self-deprecating comedy, and short sketch roles, including Bill Clinton. But that was just a small stop before the name Fluffy stepped outside Nickelodeon. Before All That, Gabriel had quit his job at a phone company to pursue stand-up full-time starting in 1997. That gamble cost him his home and his car, but it also opened up his real life. After All That, he did not become a Nickelodeon star. He became a stage star. Last comic standing Comedy Central Netflix Magic Mike, Mr. Iglesias' voice roles and major tours turned him into one of the most instantly recognizable comedians in America. Stadium Fluffy at Dodger Stadium in front of about 55,000 people is the kind of milestone nobody can just laugh off. Gabriel doesn't have a major legal scandal, but his health battle has been very real. At his heaviest, he was around 440 to 445 pounds, had type 2 diabetes, and was seriously warned about his life expectancy. The nickname Fluffy made him famous, but Gabriel's body paid the price. He also struggled with depression, alcohol use, and burnout. In 2017, his heavy tour schedule forced him to stop so he could pull himself out of a breakdown period. He split from Claudia Valdez but kept his relationship with Frankie, the son he helped raise. In 2021, Gabriel got COVID-19 on his 45th birthday and had to cancel shows. Recently, he talked about using Ozempic for 5 months, then stopping because he was losing more muscle than fat, and then quickly gaining back 20 pounds. In 2026, Gabriel is 50, still touring with the special Legend of Fluffy, his handprints at TCL Chinese Theater, and a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Number 10, Amanda Bynes. Amanda was born in 1986. When All That premiered in 1994, she was only 8, so she was not part of the original lineup. She joined the show in 1996 when she was about 10 and very quickly became one of its most important expanded faces. Ask Ashley was her big signature, a girl who seemed sweet, sitting in her bedroom reading letters from viewers, then suddenly exploding in anger. From all that she got the Amanda Show when she was only about 13. After that came What I Like About You, Big Fat Liar, What a Girl Wants, She's the Man, Hairspray, Sydney White, and Easy A. But behind all that was a very painful fall. Amanda once said watching herself in She's the Man made her depressed for months. She also said she abused Adderall after reading that it was called a skinny pill, and that it affected her work, including her decision to pull out of Hall Pass. After Easy A, she hated how she looked and acted so much that she decided to quit acting in 2010 when she was only 24. From 2012 to 2014, Amanda was constantly in the headlines because of DUI arrest, unstable behavior, and psychiatric hold. In 2013, her mother was granted a conservatorship. Nearly 9 years later, in 2022, the court ended the conservatorship and gave Amanda back control of her life and finances. But recovery has not been a straight road. In 2023, she had to undergo another mental health evaluation. In 2024, she said she had gained more than 20 pounds because of depression but was trying to do better. Amanda has not returned to Hollywood like before. She graduated from FIDM in 2019, tried a podcast in 2023, moved toward fashion and artwork, opened an OnlyFans in 2025 to chat with fans, and still struggles with her image in front of paparazzi. In 2026, Amanda is 40. With Amanda Bynes, I don't just remember Ask Ashley or She's the Man. I remember a girl who was too good too early, then needed years to reclaim the right to live like a normal person. Number 11, Nick Cannon. Nick was born in 1980 in San Diego. When All That premiered in 1994, he was 14, but it was not until around 1998, when he was 18, that he joined the show. Nick did not come in through the usual audition route. He started by keeping the studio audience energized while the cast changed clothes, then gradually got brought on to perform. On All That he had The Spice Boys, Sweaty Spice, The Inconvenience Store. But from the very beginning, Nick felt more like a host than a regular sketch actor. After All That he had The Nick Cannon Show, then starred in Drumline Love Don't Cost a Thing and Roll Bounce. But the biggest move was Wild and Out, the show he created and hosted starting in 2005. After that came America's Got Talent, The Masked Singer podcast producing car shows, and a talk show. Nick didn't just work in entertainment, he turned himself into a brand. But Nick's personal life has never been quiet. In 2020, Viacom CBS cut ties with him after comments on Cannon's class were criticized as anti-Semitic. Nick later apologized for words that caused hurt and division, while Fox kept him on The Masked Singer. Health-wise, in 2012, he was diagnosed with lupus nephritis after symptoms like fatigue, swollen knees, shortness of breath, and kidney pain. He still calls himself a lupus warrior. Nick's family life has been even more controversial. He has 12 children with 6 women, and in 2025, he said that was connected to trauma after his divorce from Mariah Carey, admitting he had been careless in relationships. The heaviest tragedy was his son Zen dying of brain cancer at only 5 months old. In 2026, Nick is 46, still hosting The Masked Singer, still connected to Wild and Out, still working, still being watched, and still living with lupus. Number 12, Danny Tamborelli. After Nick Cannon, we need a quieter face, but just seeing Danny Tamborelli makes the whole 90s Nickelodeon era smell like VHS tapes. Danny was born in 1982 in New Jersey. When All That premiered in 1994, he was 12, but it was not until 1997, when he was about 15, that he joined the show. Danny was not part of the original lineup. Before All That, he was already a familiar Nickelodeon face, thanks to his role as Little Pete in The Adventures of Pete and Pete. He also did voice work in the Magic School Bus and appeared in The Mighty Ducks. For many viewers, Danny was not someone All That created, but an older piece of Nickelodeon moving on to the sketch stage. On All That, he took over vital information after Lori Beth Denberg and had the character Fat Cop. After the show, Danny did not become a huge star like Kenan or Nick Cannon. He took a smaller path voice work in Fillmore Grand Theft Auto 5 playing bass in the band Jounce hosting the podcast, The Adventures of Danny and Mike with Michael C. Morona, and performing the Nostalgia live show Nostalgia Personified. Danny has no major legal scandal or loud personal controversy. What stands out is that he seems to have moved through childhood fame in a fairly healthy way. He once said his parents were always there for him, and that shaped how he became a father. In 2018, he married Kate Tamborelli. They have 2 children and even wrote nostalgic novels together, including The Road Trip Rewind. In 2025, Danny paid tribute to Michelle Trachtenberg, his former The Adventures of Pete and Pete co-star, after she passed away at 39. It was the kind of moment that made the old Nickelodeon generation suddenly feel less immortal on screen. In 2026, Danny Tamborelli is 44. He is a husband, father, musician, podcaster, comedian, and author. Number 13, Leon Frierson. And now we come to the final name on today's list. Leon was born in 1986. When All That premiered in 1994, he was only 8. And in 1997, when he was about 11, he joined the show. He was not part of the original lineup, but a later generation face appearing during seasons 4 through 6. Audiences remember Leon through Leroy and Fuzz, CJ, and the Cloudy Nights Repair Boy and Billy Foucault. He didn't have the same big glow as Kenan, and he didn't become a pop culture symbol like Amanda or Nick Cannon, but for people who watched All That in the late 90s, Leon was a real part of that stage. After the show, Leon appeared in Bulworth Snow Day and Boston Public. But he did not continue with a bright Hollywood career. He turned toward music podcasts, content production, and later appeared more in nostalgia spaces under the name Lee Boy. Leon has no major public legal scandal. The heaviest part of his story is in quiet on set. He said he was uncomfortable with certain sketches and costumes, especially leotards that made him feel too exposed. He also said he did not dare object because he was afraid of being punished or having his screen time reduced. For an adult, that sentence sounds simple. For an 11-year-old kid on set, it says a lot about power. Leon also connected the emptiness after leaving the industry and not being able to maintain his childhood success to alcohol problems later on. In 2026, Leon is 40, still working on a smaller scale, but his story leaves a clear echo. Not every child star wound explodes into a scandal. Some wounds are quieter, and sometimes it takes decades before the person who lived through them is ready to talk. And that is the strangest thing about looking back at All That. Back then, they were just kids on screen running around the Nickelodeon stage, yelling silly lines, wearing ridiculous costumes, making us laugh after school or on some weekend night that feels very far away now. But time does not let anyone stay still. Kenan became the steady man of Saturday Night Live. Kel had to learn how to survive after the laughter. Amanda Angelique Leon and many others carried wounds that we never saw when we were kids. Some rebuilt their lives, some live more quietly, some still try to hold on to a piece of that childhood for the fans. I'm not sure what makes me quieter, seeing them get older or realizing we have been walking with them all these years too. So out of this cast, who makes you feel time has moved the fastest? Leave a comment, and if you like stories like this, subscribe to Weird Movie Secrets. We'll keep digging up more old American memories.